get down to Ekiti and get a feel of the mood in the place. How are people preparing? What do we expect? What do they expect themselves? Our correspondent Dari Do is there now. Good morning, Dari.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Of course, Chamberlain, right here, I'm reaching you live from Ekiti, where election is expected to hold tomorrow. People are in nice spirits. If you can see, that is what is going on in the background. Just to my left, there's a traffic light waiting. People are waiting just for the traffic light to pass them. But that is not the mood around. The mood is that a lot of them are looking forward to that election, and they're also looking at the security agencies to ensure that when they go out tomorrow, they go and conduct that election. It's free, fair, and violence-free. In the background as well, you can see the market here is one of the main markets in Ekiti. It's expected when it's an election like this, the last-minute shopping, people are going about their business. But pretty much, let's talk about what is happening with the political parties. There's complaints as well from some of the political players around here. Some of the parties are complaining that the police have been intimidating some of their members. Some of them we have seen as well. A politician raised a concern that one of their members was arrested in the build-up to today. It's likely a very calm situation on the street, but it's hard for you to be on the street without actually seeing a police vehicle or a policeman moving around. The police said they deployed 17,000 men, which is a combination of the police and the military in Ekiti election. And if you stay around here, not too long, 2-3 minutes, you would see the presence of those men that have been deployed. And from our conversation from the people on the ground in Ekiti, they say they're in nice spirit and willing to go out tomorrow to vote without being intimidated. We'll be getting more updates and more feelers to expand this particular conversation in our makeshift studio where Kayode Okikiolu is standing by.
Thank you very much, Dari, our correspondent right there on the field in Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, giving us all the angles, essentially, as we build up to this all-important governorship election in Ekiti state. As he said, yes, we have a guest with us here, and we're talking security as well, the arrangements for security, what to expect, how to allay the fears or perhaps the apprehension that may have come up in the minds of Ekiti people and the electorates, the officials, and the rest. We have with us here in our makeshift studio one of the most senior police officers here in Nigeria. We have with us DIG Johnson Kokumo. He's the DIG in charge of Force Criminal Investigations Department and the supervising DIG of the Southwest region. It's good to have you on the program, sir. I can see your uniform is different. It's not what we see usually. It's like this is saying you are battle ready.
Yes, this is what we call camouflage. It is battle ready uniform. And it is not worn the way we put on the conventional blue, black, or the black stuff.
Right. So tell us, it's been a long time coming to this election, and all eyes are on this election. It's an off-cycle election, so you understand why there'll be a lot of attention. It's not the general election where attention might be divided. So if you could just break it down for us, what kind of security should we be expecting tomorrow?
Watertight security, of course. Before now, we've had our operations order where the security management that is before the elections, security activities before the elections, during the elections, and of course post-election security activities. This we are doing to ensure the exercise is seamless. Yes, the Nigerian Police Force remains the lead agency. National security, election. We are doing this, of course, in synergy, cooperation, and understanding with other law enforcement agencies in Nigeria, we have the military, we have the civil defense, we have the immigration department, we have customs, etc. We are all actively involved in putting up what I would call a security package, managing the security situation to ensure free, fair, credible elections.
Security-wise, how tough an environment, a terrain, politically, perhaps, is this election for you in terms of prosecution? We saw some skirmishes last weekend between supporters of SDP and is it APC or PDP. We've had some pockets of attacks. So just how tricky an election is this to prosecute for you?
We are not trying we are not taking things for granted. Ekiti State, of course, is a state known for peace, and when it comes to election period, the issue is we have this unhealthy rivalry between members of different political parties, and we have developed proactive measures to ensure that we nip this in the bud. And where that is not possible, we'll make sure that those who foment trouble at any given point in time, of course, are arrested and prosecuted.
Okay, DIG, we'll come to the nitty-gritties of things in a moment, but we'll take a quick time out and we'll return to speak on the security for this Ekiti governorship election 2022. Please stay with us. So welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're still reaching you live from our makeshift studio here in Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital. And we're talking election security, the all-important topic, because essentially elections rise and fall on security. We have with us DIG Johnson Kokomo, who's in charge of election security, is also DIG FCID and in charge of Southwest region. Thank you for staying with us, DIG. So I hear 17,000 men have been deployed. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we have deployed over 17,000.
Is that just the police or police, the military, NSCDC and the rest?
That is the strength of the police for this exercise.
What about the strength of others, the military, the NSCDC? Do you have an idea how much men are on ground?
They have their men too. Of course, there is no equal representation in this exercise because considering the lead role of the police is largest in terms of numerical strength for this exercise.
And you're taking the lead?
Yes, of course.
To what extent, DIG, can you vouch for the independence of your men, as it were? Because our correspondents, they've been out there, they've been getting feelers, and they've been reports of perhaps favoritism, suppressing a certain party over another. To what extent can you vouch that your men indeed will be neutral in all of this?
Before now, we've had capacity building for our men, and part of the things we had actually instilled is neutrality in situations like this. So no officer of the Nigerian police force will be out there for the election assignment and will resort to being unnecessarily partial or trying to favor a particular political party against the other. Will remain apolitical, will remain neutral, as of course remains providing adequate security for men and for men and of course materials.
What about your men, especially the ones detailed to VIPs, politically exposed persons, politicians and the rest? It's always a major challenge from time to time. What is the game plan this time around to ensure that, there's fairness across board?
This we have taken cognizance of, and we have withdrawn policemen that were attached in form of aides, orderlies to VIPs in order to have a seamless exercise. We do not want a situation where those attached to the VIPs are used on the field to create unnecessary mayhem, to wreak havoc. So we have withdrawn them, and in our ESA's meeting, we have equally advised sister agencies to do same. So you are not going to find oddlies or aides attached to VIPs following them for the voting exercise.
So essentially they'll come as they are and there will be no influence, undue influence from the police.
Definitely, yes.
So now that we're talking about the voting process, help us understand what kind of security arrangements to expect tomorrow at the, the polling units, at the voting booths. What is the security arrangement? How much police will be detached across board at certain polling units? How far should people stay and all of that? Walk us through if you can.
On our record, we have a total of 2,445 polling booths. We have made very healthy, robust deployment to each of the polling booths, and sister agencies are equally making deployment. So the least you can find at any polling booth tomorrow is 6, the minimum. Minimum of 6, to provide adequate security for the voters and, of course, for the materials, and the INEC staff, both ad hoc and permanent staff of INEC.
I think that's a very important point to make. But during elections, there's a security angle, but there's also one major problem we face time and again, and that's vote buying. So what brief do your men have in terms of apprehending either those buying votes or those selling votes for tomorrow's election?
Vote buying remains an infraction. Vote buying remains an electoral offense enshrined in the 2022 Electoral Act as amended. So our men have our instructions to arrest and deliver for investigation and prosecution anybody found engaged in vote buying or in any form of financial inducement. This we have told them, and we have equally had the opportunity of letting the stakeholders. We had the stakeholders meeting where we have the representatives of the political parties, and the Inspector General of Police IGP Usman Alkali Baba FDC was in attendance, and this has been made abundantly clear to the stakeholders.
DIG, forgive me, this is something we hear time and again. We're going to arrest those buying votes. We will ensure that there isn't vote buying. But we realize that during the elections, these things happen. So again, how can we be sure that this time is different?
The buyer and the seller are always in mutual agreement as to what they intend to do. We will rely heavily on information. We will rely heavily on intel. A seller of vote will not invite the police, making it known in public that he wants to sell his votes. The buyer will equally not make it known to the police that he wants to buy votes. So it's always something that is done in total secrecy. But I want to assure you and assure the good people of Ekiti State that we have our men out there who, of course, are on surveillance, gathering information as regards this. And I want to request from members of the public that if you see something, try and say something. If you have information concerning those intending to buy votes and those intending to sell votes, they should, of course, reach out to us.
I know this issue of vote buying, we rely heavily on just how much evidence that you can gather in terms of prosecution, because essentially we've seen a few arrests time and again, but in terms of prosecution, nothing much is heard. And we've heard time and again that there are possibilities of maybe having body cams or the police have some sort of evidence gathering that can eventually be used in prosecution, because it looks like that's the tricky part. So what more are you doing? Will you have policemen with maybe body cams? Is that in the works or what?
We have in place adequate measures to check vote buying, to check vote selling, and of course to apprehend. We have the capacity to locate them wherever they are, to effect their arrest, carry out our investigations, and process them through the judiciary.
So both buyer and seller will be apprehended?
They are both criminals. They have committed an electoral offense for which they will be processed through the courts.
Okay, I think it's important to speak about the kind of conduct you expect from voters, supporters, and all of that tomorrow, because I think it's always gray area. So as a voter, how should I approach what is expected of me security-wise? So perhaps as a form of education, what conduct do you expect?
Yes, we have in place adequate patrol. We are doing this, of course, in synergy with other sister security agencies. As I said, this exercise is not a one-man show. You see that we have security agencies in all the nooks and crannies of the state. This, of course, is intended to build confidence in members of the public, for them to know that there is adequate security in place for them to go about their civic responsibilities without any fear of molestation, without any fear of being attacked. And of course, at the level of the polling booth, on arrival, you perform your civic responsibility. We have gone on public enlightenment, making the voters to know that after casting their vote, you don't really need to constitute crowd at the polling booth. All you need to do immediately after casting your votes is to leave. And if there is any need for you to stay around, maybe for reason of wanting to monitor or to see what happens to your vote, you keep a reasonable distance, so that your presence will not in any way impact negatively on the voting exercise. And of course, outside that, we have also taken care of those who may want to bring in arms and ammunition from neighboring states, so that we have layers of security at the points of entry and exit in and out of Ekiti State. So we have the military. We also have other security agencies at the second layer, at the point of exit and entry.
In terms of movement, DIG, we're winding down now. The curfew, what is expected? When will movement stop? When will movement resume? What kind of movement can you make yesterday as some form of education as well? Or tomorrow, rather.
During voting,
yes,
movement is restricted. You are not expected to move from one polling booth to the other. Get to your own polling booth where you have your name, do your voting, and go back to your house.
Okay.
And it is equally expected that the movement into Ekiti State will be restricted from midnight.
Right.
So that we don't expect interstate movement any longer from midnight.
And can we be sure that your men and women are well taken care of? Just coming into the town, I saw some of them at some point. They were in buses coming off, and they were trying to get food and all of that. What's welfare? Have they been paid and all of that?
Adequate arrangements have been made for the payment of special duty election allowances, and there is no cause for worries concerning that.
Have they been paid?
Yes, of course.
They've been paid. Okay, it looks like you have a lot of job ahead of you, but we'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us on election security. We've been speaking with DIG Johnson Kokumo this morning. He's in charge of the Ekiti governorship election, and we wish you the very best, DIG.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it from here, but not to worry. We have full coverage of the Ekiti governorship election. And we'll definitely still be having more from the security angle, the electoral angle, and all the other angles covered for you. So please stay with us. It's back to you in our Lagos studio.
Well, yes, indeed. We'll look forward to that coverage. But I think we should also look forward to a day where all of this restriction of movement will stop, such that election is not the biggest activity in this country. It doesn't generate economic value. Economy is tanking. We need to see how we could do things differently to make sure that we don't just stop all economic activity because we want to do elections.
Well, we have to maintain.
The world has moved away from all of that. We need to keep developing and ensure that we don't stop economic activities because of that. But anyways, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain. So
I'm Maya Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
And I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now.
Well, I know we saw a few tweets, but hey, maybe we'll take them next week. Thank you so much for your contributions. I'm Mal Yusuf. Have a great weekend.